Hi friends, I'm Olga Koelsch and welcome back to my studio. I got so many requests of lesson about painting lights, about painting winter lanterns, about painting candles. So I thought it through, wrap it out, and I'm going to explain you how to paint these magic, mesmerizing lights in the dark. So let's start. Before we are diving into painting, a little bit piece of theory about painting lights, candles, lanterns, and so on. All painting will consist of two steps. First, painting the light, when we focus just on the light area, and we put aside all this structure of lanterns itself. And then on the top of the first layer with lights, we will paint all the decoration. Painting lanterns is all about creating contrast between light and dark. So for example, on this picture it's relatively light outside, maybe twilights, but on these pictures you immediately get into this pretty night feeling, mystical night, and that all created with a very, very high amount of contrast. Somewhere I even left the white paper and I tried to use maximum boldness of the color. Another thing I would like to theorize about is the structure of the light itself. The most light part is the middle. You could leave white paper for this. The hottest part is usually red, and most of candles lights, they have an outside very cold glow, either bluish, purple. Because the bottom of the light is very, very dark, first of all, of the shades, and secondly, because of this wax part in here. Now let's finally start to paint. Will be a lot of water during the process, so take either a glued paper or attach the tape to your desk. I will take as a basic some very simple IKEA lantern. No need to be very precise and think about perspective. So I draw 3 parallel strokes. I create the bottom. As you may know, I'm not a big fan of detailed drawing in advance, but sometimes it helps. I just create a little bit of basics. And if you are struggling with drawing lanterns, which might be a thing, I would recommend you to go to IKEA web page and just use one of their nice lanterns as a reference. So this will be my lantern. I don't go into the details. I will maybe emphasize the basement. And I will add all the fine lines and details a little bit later. For me, it's important to keep in mind that there will be also this decoration part, and of course it will be seen through here. I hope you could see the idea of how I'm painting. Now we totally forget about our drawing. Don't pay attention to all these drawing details whatsoever. We focus on painting light. I imagine that there is a candle inside, with a light around here. So about the middle of my future lantern, there will be super white, super light area, which I will try to leave untouched. I will leave it as a paper. And outside this area, I'm watering I'm watering the inner part of the lantern, but always remember that there should be a very light area. If you accidentally watered it or forgot about this, no problem at all. Just take a paper towel and remove water or color. So next step, as in watercolor, we always go from light to dark. I'm not doing fancy colors, just yellow, cadmium yellow. I start to create the flame around my white area. Just with the tip of the brush, with the body of the brush. I could see that my kids took my watercolors. Now yellow is a little bit greenish, but yeah, that's call for art. So the paper is wet, so I could create this very soft wash of yellow. Now I'm taking orange. If you do not have orange, you could mix red and yellow. And I start to add the second layer of the flame, more hot. So on the top of the light or of the yellow, I add a touch of orange, a little bit thicker on the top, a little bit smaller on the bottom. I sometimes dry my paper with a paper towel, remove excess water, and soften everything. As the flame is always very weird, vivid, not weird, vivid, so it shouldn't be precise. That's the point I want to bring. Next red. You see in my palette, it's very nicely organized, yellow, orange, red. So on the top of red, on the top of orange, I add just a touch of red. Don't overdo it with red. It should be really a touch. And then I wash my brush. I remove all the excess colors and water with a paper towel and gently soften everything. I could even do this just with clean brush. Soften everything, distribute all the lights around. And as flame does not exist, just a piece of flame, it's shining around and creates, of course, the light around. So we are going back to our yellow color and add the light around the flame. Very gentle, very light, very transparent. It should be super watery. And for now it looks a little bit pale. That's totally okay. Remember, I was talking about creating contrast, so the more gentle you will be able to be with the flames, with colors now, the better. So it's about this. Try to remove all borders. Now there is a candle inside, and candle has its thickness, and also some darkness. I will mix orange color with ultramarine blue. It's one of my favorite mixes to create this whimsical purple. And the paper is still wet, and it's great because I would like to create very soft, very soft touch idea of a candle inside. For now it will be just few drops. Ultramarine blue is a granulated color, which means if you don't stir it nicely, there will be always some particles noticeable. So you have to work with your brush pretty pretty intense. And of course, the more we get to the to the bottom of our lantern, the darker the color of the candle, and same for the bottom itself. I don't paint any precise details because it's all under light, it's all moving, it's all very unstable, it changes every second, and I want to create this atmosphere of night lights, a little bit of mystery around. So very free hand, I would say. So like this. Another important moment, there will be a small little border where candle ends and where the wax part is growing. I could already paint it a little bit with orange and immediately add some darkness to it and add a little bit of shades to the bottom of the flame. And few little drops of purple. I hope the paper is still wet and allows me to do that. So about like this. If you're unsure or if you see that your paper is dry, just let it dry and then you could add details later. Maybe even you realize that it is not really necessary. I want to soften this border. I wash my brush, I dry my brush with a paper towel, and just with the tip of the brush, I have synthetic brush which allows to do that. I just soften the edges. I would like to add maybe a small little touch of yellow. I think it's a little bit too big white spot in here. And let me think. I think few lovely touches of purple, especially at the end of at the bottom of the lantern would be nice. And now you just let everything thoroughly dry. Now let's paint background. I'm watering everything around the lantern. You could even touch the lantern itself, because these parts will be very dark black, and the outside area I imagine to be in dark blue. So what you need right now is to water the paper gently, remove all the puddles. If you touch the area of lantern, that's totally fine. What's important that there will be no puddles, no big areas of water, and also no dry areas around. Before I start with watercolor, I will show that I prepared some salt. We will soon need it. Now I'm taking ultramarine blue right from the palette. Create super bold mix as it is. I think I could add a little bit of purple into it. Oh, already it just tells me, Olga, stop mixing colors, just paint. So that's the most pleasant part, the most rewarding part when you paint, just wet on wet. You just go with your brush, and I would suggest you a little bit always add some change. So sometimes you take your color ultramarine blue right from the palette. Sometimes you add a hint of purple. Very carefully paint the area next to the lantern. It's a difficult word for me to pronounce for some reason. So the more you get to the bottom, the more darker the color. So don't hesitate to add some of blacks. I like neutral tint for blacks. And always the mix should be very creamy, very bold. You should have a lot. You should have a lot on your plate. So, but don't use black right now. We will get there because we will need to add these steel elements to the lantern. You have to be relatively quick because paper not wait for you. It of course depends on the paper. I use 200 grams paper, which dries relatively quick now. Nice to leave some white areas, white spots, and with the tip of the brush correct the borders. It's actually not so much to correct. Now comes the fun part. I wash my brush. First, fun part. Step 1. Wash your brush and then add some splashes just with white color or with clean water. Now grab your salt. With salt, it's important that you're not salting like when you're cooking. You use some areas, preferably where the color is very bold, and just drop a small hint. Remember, not like this, you are not cooking. Different salt creates different textures. So and the more granulated salt creates very nice, very big spiderwebs. I do not have that one, but you could try everything from your kitchen and let me know which one you liked best. And it's important to start with the salt or with all the decorative elements at the right moment. Now I have almost dry brush and I lift some colors. It's important that after every lifting you dry your brush. Just like this. And you could try to wiggle a little bit your brush. That will imitate some snowflakes. So that's really, this is very fun part to create. Sometimes fluffy, this fluffy brush, you just go on the top and remove. And maybe one more go with water splashes. And then we really have to stop, I'm afraid. So 1, 2, 3. Yes. So it's nice to wait a little bit, and always nice to distribute your splashes uneven. For example, I'm choosing this corner to be mostly decorated, and I keep all the rest in peace. So now we have to try this out or patiently wait again. Before we start to paint these steel elements, one important thing. This part inside is really hot, and first of all it warms up the steel elements, and secondly the flame reflects on those elements. So it would not be correct, it would not be great if we just paint it just with black color. So we leave about this area to paint it in a relatively lighter way. So I will try to explain you during the process. So I'm just grabbing my neutral tint, but I think I will add just a little bit of ultramarine blue, so it's not entirely black. And I even might prepare a second brush. Let's see. So we paint. It's dry, so I could put my hand on the lantern, on the light itself. We start to paint these steel elements. I always like to leave a little bit white paper. It gives a feeling of some air in the work. Now I grab my second brush and I grab a little bit of orange, and about this middle part I paint the orange element. Now I switch to my black brush, dark brush, and keep painting, and I'm just letting watercolors mix by itself. So I would suggest that we paint these vertical elements first. Same idea. Switch to orange. Don't overthink about which color should I take. Orange is great if you paint in softer tones, more vintage tones, and use more brown colors. Burnt sienna would be also great. The mix of orange should be relatively watery, and we just bravely paint it over. I use some light area because here is the rib in the corner of the lantern. So one part, another part, and here is a rib, which sometimes needs some emphasizing in it. So, and again, I start to paint dark right on the top of red. So the colors will mix organically in a very natural way. As you see, I not even try to paint straight lines. Just because we're painting loose, we're painting relaxed, and it's a whole different style to paint like this. So if you do not consider you're a pro in precise drawing, that's totally fine. Now let's repeat. It should be a little bit round, so not on the same line, a little bit up. here. At the end it's not really matte, but that, you see, it adds really nice touch to the whole idea. It adds volume. To control your brush, better hold your brush next to the head, next to the hair part. Then you could be more stable and create more precise lines, and leave watercolor mix like this. Now, easy, should be relatively easy to paint in this way all the top parts. Leave a little bit space in between these constructions, in between these elements. Also add some different color, maybe some white spots, because it all creates mood, texture. It's very important that it looks live. I like watercolor because it could really looks very spontaneous, very yeah, spontaneous, I think the right word. Here was some handle. As you see, I really do not try to create super precise geometrical figure. I could even, I'm just thinking that some water splash would be nice. Maybe now let's trying it for the first time. Even with orange, because that creates lovely texture, and some rusty maybe idea of the candle or of the lantern, like this. Now let's paint the bottom. The bottom is it's a bit of the light area and it's the dark area. So I will just paint this part in very what's the word? In very relaxed brush strokes. A little bit with dry brush. I dried my brush. I left color on it, but I dried it with a paper towel. So it's a little, it looks a bit dry and textured. Some more color. Maybe this element of the bottom. So you see, the more spontaneous, the more free your hand is, the better. I would like to add a touch of red, orange into some spots, just like this. Now I see that our lantern has these crisscross crossed details, and we have keep in mind the same idea of warm, contrast of warm and cold. So I grab my orange. if that would be more helpful. Now you could draw these lines with just pencil. Very light, very freely. One, another one. Mix is very watery. Now let's go back to our black mix. Now be careful, try not to get into your fresh painted parts. Mixing one side and another side. You could even start from the orange part, so before it dries out completely. Of course, you could stop at every moment. For example, if your lantern does not supposed to have all these elements, you could just stop here. Then maybe there will be sense to emphasize the candle inside a little bit. Also, if you paint around it, a little bit of a round style lantern, that also fine. I want to help my watercolor to mix a bit in a nicer, more intricate way, and I add a little bit of orange touches around. Again, don't overdo it. Next side. Help yourself with drawing, cross, like to paint it a little bit bigger, longer. Make it nice when it has some more room for mixing. And with the tip of the brush, just mix a little bit gently these areas that all create some idea. And now comes the foreground part. We could hardly see what's going on there, and everything we see is quite warm. So I just go back to my purple mix I created with orange and ultramarine blue. So something just dusty looking, like this, rather watery. It's not our focal point at all, and actually, yeah. So first I will paint the rib. I want it to be a little bit warmer and lighter, like this. With almost dry brush, I just create the idea of all these borders. So my main advice would be just don't overdo it and be very gentle. Even if something is maybe not correct geometrical, trust me, nobody will take a measurement stick and check all your details or said, oh, you didn't draw it by perspective, or doesn't matter. We create the mood, we create some nice light in the dark. That's what we are doing. Of course, it's nothing bad with painting, drawing very precise. And I'm very curious, do you have some painting, drawing background? Do you prefer to paint with drawing before, or you more like freehand style? It's very important for me to know what you are
what you are looking for and what is your actual experiences. Very, very helpful. So I'm very much appreciate if you give me some hint. So now let's a little bit add the candle. Very soft, very, just to make an idea. There is a candle. There is a candle, there is the light, and some super, super light around. Some gold. Gold strokes underneath, but it's actually maybe not very necessary. Yellow. Now let's have a look what might feel missing. Add a few touches, and I think now we could congratulate ourselves with this nice achievement and beautiful letter.
Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you got tons of ideas how to paint lights. I hope you found this lesson very easy and relaxing. I'm looking forward for your feedback, and I'm very curious to read what you would like to paint next. I read each and every comment, and I'm very thankful for your constant support. See you next time. Bye bye.